This is a disgrace. She blaming Devon and looting on Trump. These motherfuckers blaming everything either on blacks or on Trump. First, the Mexicanos was blaming blacks for the riots and looting in LA, right? Now she blaming Trump for the riots and looting in LA. These motherfucking people are crazy, y'all. Straight up. Let's blame blacks and let's blame Trump. These motherfuckers done bumped their heads, y'all.
Mayor Karen Bass had to say about Trump sending in the National Guard. Watch this.
Deploying federalized troops is a dangerous escalation, but we need to be real about this. This is about another agenda. It's not about public safety. There's clearly no plan, and there is clearly no policy. I want the people of Los Angeles to know that we stand with all Angelinos, no matter where you were born. The First Amendment right gives you the ability, again, to protest peacefully. But it does not give you the right to be violent, to create chaos, or to vandalize property. And that will not be tolerated.
Former acting ICE Director Jonathan Fahey joins me now. Jonathan, Bass is putting the blame for the violence on Trump, but these rioters, they were wearing masks to start with. I don't understand that. They were throwing rocks at the police. They're blocking Highway 101. In my opinion, they're the ones being provocative. What say you?
Yeah, you would think so, and it's really common sense that they're the ones being provocative. It's very interesting listening to Karen Bass's statement where she's saying she unequivocally, condemns the rioters, but then sort of equivocates and supports the rioters and blaming Donald Trump as if Los Angeles could handle this without Donald Trump coming in with the National Guard. We know how they handled the fires several months ago.
They burning American flags, but want to be in America. What the fuck is going on, y'all? They're sitting here literally burning American flags, but want to be in America, and the Democrats are fighting for them. Wow.
There's no reason to think they could do anything to put public safety first. And this idea that their agenda is public safety, it's really outrageous because their agenda is thwarting ICE at every turn, preventing any deportations. And they're the ones fighting against public safety. It's really shameful what she's doing and a lot of the Democratic politicians are doing to making things actually worse.
Mm-hmm. Look, if you can't deport illegal, violent, criminal migrants,
and
you can't deport anybody,
flags.
Can you?
That man go back to Mexico, goddammit.
And it really shows where the Democratic Party is on this. And it's surprising after the election, you think they might have been a little, maybe moderated a bit on this open borders agenda, but they've really gotten more radical on this. And they fight virtually every single deportation. Even the most serious criminals, they try to stand in the way of having them removed from the community. And they refer to them as constituents and other types of things. And they never, ever put the interests of the American people ahead of illegal aliens. And it's really shocking. It's disturbing. But that is where the Democratic Party is. This is an 80-20, 90-10 issue, and they are in the 10 or even more extreme on this issue. And it's really a disservice to the American people.
The alleged gang member, Abrego Garcia, otherwise known as the Maryland Dad, he's back in America after courts ordered his return. He faces human trafficking charges. Listen to what Border Czar Tom Homan had to say about it.
We're going to bring back, we're going to criminally prosecute him, we're going to put him in prison. And when he gets done with his prison sentence, he can be deported right back to his homeland.
What's the point? We put him in, find him guilty, put him in prison here, and then chuck him out to El Salvador. What a pointless exercise.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to end up in the same place. He's never going to be Maryland man again. He's now Tennessee man until these charges are over. But you know what's really interesting about this case? One of the biggest pieces of evidence was a 2022 stop by Tennessee local authorities where they caught him red-handed smuggling illegal aliens. They referred this to DHS, but under the Biden-Mayorkas regime, they weren't prosecuting virtually any immigration offenses. So they decided not to prosecute him back in 2022, even though they knew he was smuggling illegal aliens. This really just shows the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party, and now they're sort of falling back on saying, oh, they were only talking about due process. But we know a few weeks ago this was Maryland man, Maryland father, constituent, and they were defaming ICE agents who are simply doing their job, removing serious criminals from the country.
Outrageous. Jonathan, thanks for joining us.
Congresswoman, looking at this chaos, who's funding it and why are they funding it?
So it's actually being funded by a billionaire by the name of Neville Singham. He's actually funding a group called the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which if you look online, they are a communist organization. What they're doing is they are using Hispanic Americans the way that BLM used Black Americans during these riots, and frankly, the way that Code Pink, which is also funded by the CCP, is using Palestinians. So what they're trying to do is they're using this to usher in Marxism. But it's important to note that actually when you find and you follow the money trail, Mr. Singham is actually largely funded by the Communist Chinese Party. So House Oversight has issued and will be sending a letter this Friday with all members of Oversight calling Mr. Singham to testify before Congress. If he does not appear and does not provide documents, he will then be held in contempt of Congress, and he will be prosecuted by the Department of Justice. We are not playing. This is a different administration. We have the Department of Justice, and if you interfere with American politics and are a foreign agent, you will be held accountable.
Congresswoman, just take a listen to President Trump and his orders to the Department of Justice that they will be looking into those left-wing groups fueling the violence in Los Angeles. Take a listen.
The agitators are throwing firebombs and Molotov cocktails, lighting vehicles ablaze, and attempting to infiltrate and occupy federal buildings wearing armor and face shields. The best money can buy, somebody's financing it. We're going to find out through Pam Bondi and Department of Justice who it is. They're already on it. Who's financing all this equipment? Very professional.
I would expect that the DOJ is going to get to the bottom of that.
Well, we are also assisting, and we already have the receipts. I can tell you that there is significant financial money trails. All you have to do is follow the money. Remember, so Neville Singham is actually financing the LA riots, but there's also other groups coming in, but they have different ideological perspectives, some backed by Soros that are globalists, and then obviously the Marxist organizations. But remember, this is a color revolution, right? They're using these immigrants as a guise for their real objective and goal here. And frankly, it's nothing different than what happened in the Summer of Love during the BLM riots right before the election. They're doing the same thing before the midterms, and Democrats are trying to get the Hispanic vote, so that's why they're using Mexican flags.
Well, it was a heck of a thing to see the heads of the biggest teachers unions in the United States standing up there just a few days ago. Not worried about educating our kids, but worried about keeping illegals in this country. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, we also want to get, well, and also people flying flags from their, home country. If you love it so much, go back, right? But Congresswoman, I want to get you on this. I want to talk to you about Christy
American
Walton.
flags. That's crazy.
She's a Walmart heiress. She has been calling for June 14th, this Saturday, to be a No Kings protest across the country. Congresswoman, we've already seen the violence in Los Angeles right now. So what is she really calling for here?
Well, look, I'm the first elected Mexican American to the House of Representatives from the state of Florida. So clearly they are not listening to what Hispanic Americans want, which largely voted in favor of President Trump's policy on immigration, because we understand what happens to our communities. People like Miss Walton, who are leftist liberals that have been basically spoon-fed their wealth and opulence, have no idea what the impacts are on the immigrant communities that come here illegally, that are being hired, not actually given access to the American dream. And what I would say is people like her are actually responsible for some of the impact negatively that the American people have had to go through in regards to people that have been coming here criminally that have been hurting Americans. So actually you saw today that Walmart issued a statement distancing themselves from what I would say is the black sheep of the Walmart family. And what I would also go forward and a step further and say is that these left-wing organizations, these are the same people that when Governor DeSantis sent illegals to Martha's Vineyard, they waved them and gave them sandwiches and said, see you later, after they called in the National Guard to remove them. These are fake. This is a fake outcry. They're using minorities, and I'm not here for it.
And Congresswoman, this march or this anti-Trump pro-illegal immigrant protest will be happening on the same day as the Army parade. But before I just note, this woman's wealth and her family's wealth comes from the knowing destruction of Main Street America, the destruction of family-owned small businesses and small American manufacturers, including my family's wholesale business. So the very people who voted for President Trump, the very people who President Trump finally spoke up for, are the people who that's how she made her money, is the destruction of those families and their livelihoods. So I just wanted to point that out. It's rich in many ways.
She's shilling for China. Meanwhile, that's what a majority of products are from Walmart. President Trump is tough on China. Actually just announced that he just got off the phone with Xi Jinping, and they actually had a good conversation. I think they're at a good spot in regards to the tariff negotiations. But I have no sympathy for these people. You saw the pattern that happened with BLM. You see the pattern that's happening now. They're funded by China. You can follow the money trail. They're billionaires. I'm sorry, but I have nothing in common with the billionaire who is going to virtue signal against immigrants here. Meanwhile, they made their money off of producing things by slave trade in China via the Uyghur Muslims. That's fake outcry.
Yeah.
Candidate Brad Lander is detained for several hours by federal agents after he was seen hanging on to ICE agents escorting a defendant in court. Lander was later released after his assault charges were dropped, but he and other New York Democrats are lashing out following the arrest.
Trump is trying to ratchet up conflict. He wants it to happen. That's what today was about. We have to show up and do things like I did today.
I think it was a disgusting display of the thuggery of Trump's ICE.
Do you want to know what I really think?
Please.
It's bull. How dare they?
Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins me now. Joe, if this whole situation seems familiar to you, it's because Senator Alex Padilla pulled a similar stunt at Kristi Noem's press conference just last week. And here he is, the senator, crying about his detainment on the Senate floor yesterday. Watch this.
I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained? Not once did they tell me why. I pray you never have a moment like this.